Hi, I'm Ryan Cleckner. I'm a former special operations sniper and I'm a current firearms attorney and firearms expert. And I'm coming to you to introduce you to the basic rules of firearms safety and to help you become more familiar with firearms. Now, the rules of firearms safety are so important, they should be practiced and understood any time you're handling firearms. Now, the 4 basic rules are: treat every gun as if it were loaded, always keep the firearm pointed in the safest direction, keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to shoot, and be sure of your target and beyond. Let's go through each of these to see what they mean. Now, even though I can see that this firearm is unloaded, I'm going to treat it as if it were loaded. This means I'm never going to do anything with this firearm and say, oh no, it's okay, it's unloaded. That's how many accidents occur. The second rule of firearm safety is keep this firearm pointed in the safest direction. Now, which direction is safest might depend a lot on your circumstances and the situation that you're in. But the idea here is if you can pretend that there was a laser pointer coming out of this, you're never going to let that dot get on anything that you aren't willing to shoot. So if you were here with me and I wanted to point this firearm this direction, I'm never going to sweep it across you. Instead, I will point it this way, or maybe even this way, to keep it from pointing at anything at any time that I don't want to be hit. The third rule is keeping your finger off of the trigger until you're ready to shoot. This includes even if you're at the shooting range, the gun is loaded, and you're intending to shoot the gun, not until you're ready to shoot do you take your finger and put it on the trigger. You might have to practice with different firearms being able to pick them up and not inadvertently touching the trigger. So when I pick it up, I do something like this, so that finger never, ever gets near that trigger. Whether it's loaded, regardless of where it's pointed, the finger stays off the trigger. Now that fourth rule is being sure of your target and beyond. That relates to when you're actually out shooting. You need to be aware of what's going on with your bullet and where it's going to go if you miss the target or if the bullet goes through the target to make sure you have a safe experience. Now, in addition to these 4 rules that, again, should be practiced and considered every time you're handling firearms, another important thing to consider is safe firearm storage. Now, safe firearm storage isn't just to keep someone from stealing your firearms. This also includes keeping other people away from the guns that don't have authorized access. This could be children that might be in your home or even an adult that you don't think is safe with firearms. And your options for firearm storage vary greatly. They can go all the way from merely disabling the firearm so that it can't be fired, all the way to preventing access to the firearm and protecting against things like theft and fire. So let's discuss some of those now. The simplest option and the cheapest option is going to be something like this cable lock. The reason why it's so inexpensive is most manufacturers already provide these for free with new firearms, but also there's a program called Project Child Safe that distributes thousands of these for free every single year. The con to a lock like this is it doesn't prevent access to the firearm at all, it just disables the firearm from being used, so you need to be careful with it. The other con to this is you need to know how to use it. A cable lock on a pistol or revolver would typically put the cable through the barrel and then lock it so that it can't be loaded at all. Whereas on something like an AR-15, for example, it would have to go through the ejection port and down through the magazine well for it to be locked. It's not complicated, it just requires a little bit of knowledge of what you're going to do. Also, options like this that come with keys. They're simple in that there's no batteries to wear out, there's no combinations to forget, but you need to be careful where you store the keys. If you're trying to keep the firearm out of a child's hands, for example, it might not be too hard to hide the keys. But there might be some circumstances where you're trying to keep an adult away from the firearm. For whatever reason, you do not want them to have access to a firearm, be careful where you hide these, because without them, you're not going to be able to open it, and with them, anyone can open it. Another option is something more specific like this particular lock for an AR-15. It inserts through the magazine well, which is where the ammunition will go in. And notice I said magazine. Here's a quick tip for you. If you want to make sure that you sound like you know what you're talking about, it's not a clip. Never call it a clip, it's a magazine. This goes into the magazine well, and it can lock into the rifle, thereby disabling it and making it so that it can't be loaded nor used. Really neat, really simple to use, but the con is it's only going to work on an AR-15. It's not going to work on almost every firearm like something like a cable lock will. Now, both of those still allow access to the firearm. They do nothing to prevent the firearm from being stolen, nor do they do anything to keep someone from actually putting their hands on the firearm. They merely disable it. If you want to prevent access to the firearm, you're going to need something like a pistol lockbox like we have here, to a gun storage cabinet, to a gun safe, all the way up the range. Now, the downside to those are gun safes are big, and they're expensive, but they're a great way to protect firearms from theft, to protect them from fires. Another problem is, for people that have firearms for home defense, they often don't want to use a gun safe because of its location in the home or how long it takes to get access to a firearm. That's where things like these pistol lock boxes are very handy. They're a way to securely store a handgun, in these cases examples, where you can access fairly quickly. If you want something that's a little more theft resistant, you're going to want a metal box like this one that has a door and a latch system that works off of a keypad. You could enter your combination and gain access to the firearm. However, just like the keys though, you need to be careful who you're protecting this from. Make sure it's not a combination that somebody else is going to know if you don't want them to have access to the firearm. A con to this one is they can be a little expensive and they need batteries even though there's a key backup. So there might be a little bit of maintenance involved. Something a lot less expensive and simpler is something like this plastic lockbox. Yes, it's plastic, which means it's going to do almost nothing for theft or fire protection, but it's great for a simple solution to keep unwanted hands off your firearm, and it's very easy and fast to open, completely mechanical with no batteries inside. So as you can see, there's a wide range of solutions for safe firearm storage, and it's going to vary greatly on the circumstances the firearm is being kept in. If the firearm just needs to be disabled, something like a cable lock or one of these custom locks can work just fine. If there's going to want to be theft and fire protection, you may need to go all the way to a full-size gun safe, or something like some of these pistol lock boxes can keep access away from a firearm, but still provide quick access for the people that are supposed to get there. And if there's one thing I want you to take away from all this, it's those first rules of firearm safety. It all starts there. You treat all guns like they're loaded. You always point firearms in the safest direction. You keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to shoot. And when you're out actually shooting, you're sure of your target and what is beyond it. And these rules don't just apply to you handling firearms, they apply to everyone around you as well. And these rules are so widely accepted among the firearms community, you would never be judged for enforcing these rules against somebody else. Your safety is your responsibility. If you see somebody around you unsafely handling firearms, they're doing something with a gun they shouldn't, they're pointing it at you, you must absolutely speak up immediately and have them stop. And you now know it's not okay to have an excuse back like, oh, don't worry, it's not loaded. It doesn't matter. We treat guns like they're loaded anyway. Or, oh, don't worry, I took the firing pin out. I've heard that one quite a bit, and in most cases the firing pin hasn't been removed. But even if it has, you have no way of knowing that, and we still shouldn't point guns at people, and we should still treat them as if they were loaded. So keep those rules of firearm safety in mind. Understand what you're talking about when you're referring to firearms and being able to confirm that they are unloaded and clear. Be aware of your safe firearm storage devices, and if you ever need more information than this, go check out NSSF's website at nssf.org.